Hello, dear students. I am going to discuss an important issue, that is the conservation of environment. Indeed, conservation of environment is priority for all human beings. As you know, the environment related issues have become a major challenge for every country. There is a great concern among various stakeholders about the deterioration condition of environment. Every year we undertake different steps to make people aware about importance of environment. Every year, we celebrate Environmental Day on 5th June. However, there is no let-up in the degradation of environment as people are unaware about the real problem. In this lecture, I would like to discuss different aspects with relation to conservation of environment. At the outset, I will discuss why conservation of environment is important in the present scenario. Secondly, I will provide you information how environmental movement started across the globe. And finally, I will try to discuss what are the real challenges with relation to environmental degradation and what are the remedies. A simple question may arise in you: why we need to conserve environment when there is already a natural mechanism by which environment can be restored back to its original status. But in recent years, we have seen accelerated anthropogenic pressures have deteriorated our environment to a large scale. Erratic changes in environment has led to many natural phenomena which we have not witnessed in the past. In past 50 years, the massive floods, receding glaciers, and species decline are the reflection of altered environment. The fate of environment is always dependent on the inhabitants, who can either preserve or destroy it. Basically, we are facing environmental crisis, which in future could have greater impact on socio-economic development of humans. In the slide, you can see how the life of polar bear is on stake due to climate change and global warming. And another image shows how the water scarcity and drought can change the status of our water bodies. Basically, we can say that our planet is angry and there are so much erratic changes going on in our environment. It will be difficult for us to restore back to it. Conservation of environment is also important because alteration in environment can change the pattern of diseases across the globe. It has been observed that global warming and climate change is a major trigger for the onset of many emerging and re-emerging diseases. The global warming is believed to shift disease towards polar direction. Basically, increased temperature favors the progression of many new pathogens and also helps them to enter the suitable vector for easy access to the final host. In recent times, malarial disease has spread towards temperate region because their intermediate host has found their entry into those places where earlier this disease was not so prevalent. The emergence of recent pandemic, that is COVID-19, has been also linked to the environmental change and decline in the biodiversity pattern. The ugly part of present environmental crisis is that the destruction which has occurred in last 70 years is because of the fact that human interference has increased. We can rightly say that in biological terms, we have become parasites and are devouring our hosts. This statement was first of all given by Paul Hawkins, which makes sense in the present scenario as man has shown his ugly nature to destroy the precious resources of Earth. According to Tom Macmillan, for 20 years we have been conquering nature. Now we are beating it to death. Another important question is, when did environmental movement started in recent times? Though it is very difficult to uh, mention when exactly this movement started, but majority of environmentalists argue that in 20th century environmental ideas continue to grow in West. Uh, there were different movements before 20th century, but they were not so popular as the movements which grew in popularity and recognition in the 20th century. Though historical historical reports have been that environmental efforts, the conservation of environmental efforts were made during the Islamic golden era and then in medieval times. But the recent efforts in the 20th century are major efforts taken by Western countries in relation to the conservation of environment. And first of all, these efforts were started in United States. Uh, Initially, the conservation of environment was started with reference to the uh, conservation of wildlife, particularly the American bison. So, the American president Theodore Roosevelt was the champion or the pioneer of conservation movement in the United States. However, it is very important to understand that individual efforts were made by different environmentalists to show their concern about the degradation of environment. Among various environmentalists, the efforts made by Rachel Carlson was very important. She was the uh, first environmentalist who documented the ill effects of uh, environmental degradation on biodiversity. She published an important book that is known as Silent Springs in 1962, which enlightened the American people about the impact of DDT and other chemicals on the biotic organisms. So we can say the modern environmental movement was basically started or initiated by Rachel Carlson. Though there are other arguments or counter arguments which say that it has already been started. So she was only basically popularizing this concept. Most important feature about Rachel Carlson's work was that she provided solid proof about the impact of chemicals on biodiversity. She mentioned that the calcium metabolism in the egg of water birds is negatively impacted by the use of DDT as it gets bioaccumulated in food chain. It is important to mention here that Rachel Carlson was not the only environmentalist who showed concern about deterioration of biotic resources, but there were other environmentalists during 1960s who were also concerned about it. Garrett Hardin was another environmentalist who gave important concept, the tragedy of commons, where he mentioned that common resource is being exploited by individuals, countries for their selfish purposes. Here you can see in the slide how he explains the concept of tragedy of commons. Here on the left side, you see he uh, explains with an example. If you have a shared resource of 40 acres, and if you want to use it in a sustainable way, for example, 20 cows, it has the capacity of 20 cows uh, for grazing. So it can be said that it's a sustainable use if we only have only 20 cows. But if we add more cows to this shared source, then it reaches to a tipping point where our source is depleted. So, in this way, we are depleting our resources by using excessive use of particular resource. So, what is the real problem? In my opinion, the real problem or conflict is between development and environment. These two cannot go hand in hand. There is a deep gap between development and environment. On one hand, we want to uh, utilize environmental resources for the development and the welfare of the humanity. But on the other hand, we also want environmental conservation. That is not possible. But technological optimists who believe that environmental problem is real, but technological innovations are key to the solution. In recent times, the general slogan, our environment, our responsibilities, has been changed into our environment and their responsibilities. This is basically environmental hypocrisy. So, we need to think deeply about this problem. Otherwise, it will be too late to amend our rail issues. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture, and next time we will discuss other important uh, important aspect about environment. Thank you.